are going to make that pivot. Additionally, what is the place of that smolder going to be, and what is going to happen to Ziggs? Because the Caitlyn didn't really hit the mark, and I feel like the second time you bring it out, don't know if it's going to fare any better.
As well, you know, when we talk side selection, HLE being the highest seed coming into this, they got game 1 selection on the blue side. It is kind of like breaking a serve. You know, T1 went for a bit of a risky draft with the Caitlyn mid to try and see if they can get essentially a serve break like in tennis. They failed, but now they're on blue side, so hopefully they can come in strong. Now, they do ban away the Jax.
You remember what I said in the first draft. This really just neutralizes a lot of what Zeus would like to play in the top lane, especially from a counter pick side. I think from blue side you have a little bit less of that, but still I think it's been a really successful pick for the side of Doran.
Really was, and it's telling because Zeus in the 1v1 actually was able to, you know, get those leads, but it just didn't matter enough. And I think that T1 are identifying that we need to put a player on Humble Life further down for us to have a shot. The Ziggs priority not going to come as a surprise. We'll see if they go back to the Caitlyn answer again. Did of course start with Nat last time around. That is obviously not ideal, but we'll have to see if Faker can bring out something else, if that is not the direction they're going to go in, as the Sejuani this time going to go over to Peanut, as, yeah, it was banned last time. The Jax is already gone, but still, even with how good Zeus was, I feel like picking Camille this early in the draft, even if it comes with Ziggs, is a really big risk.
Yeah, it means the Sejuani also a really big denial, because Sejuani Camille's so strong.
Yeah.
But I feel like T1 are now sort of leaving it into a composition where their goal will be to kill this Smolder. The Camille setup, the Ziggs to follow up, you have the resets on this Tristana. So anything that Viper ends up picking in this draft needs to bear in mind there's a lot of dive threat already, and that's before even locking in the support and jungle, who I assume is going to accentuate that more. Humble Life Esports, if they want to pick for Doran, now is kind of the time to get that in before we go to the next ban phase. Looks like that is what they're going to do. They were toying with the Recton, they go for the Xanthi instead, so, you know, 2 tanks in the jungle and top lane, I think that's risky, because they're going to end up in a 2-carry composition. You're into Camille, you're into Ziggs. It's very easy for them to just pick a carry and say, you're dead now. You're left with 1 carry and a bunch of tanks after that. That can be really dangerous.
Yeah, especially when it's Smolder and they might even, you know, dig deeper just to really, you know, maybe even a 3rd tank down in the bottom side in the support role, and then you're really just indexing into, okay, we got to get the Smolder online and really fed. And that worked in game number 1, but that was a very different scenario in that draft and in that game.
Now, what is the draft priority going to be? Obviously, Humble Life, I imagine they'll be looking out to ban out some junglers. Yeah, the Jhin should come as no surprise. I think Viper did have a very clean game. You could look at it and go, I don't think Jhin has enough damage, but I feel like with how Viper piloted, it still showed the value. Does have a lot of safety. And taking away some of those safe lanes into the Ziggs should be a big win for T1.
Also, just a pick that can operate so far away that you can sit behind a tower and still be impactful in the team fight, which is definitely not ideal if you're playing a dive composition to this. See what they go for another ban if they go towards the 80 carry wall again, or maybe looking towards support. Maybe something like the Alistair, a really solid defensive pick that can kind of headbutt away at Camille. Could be a decent idea for a ban away from Humble Life.
Yeah, or the Rel. I mean, that has been something that Delight has been picking, but instead it's just Talia. So giving some thought into the Smolder that could potentially even go to the bottom side. This is the Rel. You know, another option. I think it's something that Delight has gone back into many a time, just to really bolster the engage and provide follow-up after Sejuani throws an ult.
Imagine Keria, if this gets locked in, is going to go towards the Alistair. And then the question becomes, what do they want to go in the jungle? As mentioned, there is still the flex potential of the Smolder, hence the Talia ban, but Smolder, 80 carry, I think we've seen like Aiming played it once, I think, a while back, and it just didn't really feel like it had the same impact. That's a no-brainer. What is Oner going to bring here? That is even more dive, but that champion has not been doing too hot in the LCK recently. Zyra is still open, but Zyra with a dive composition, it just doesn't feel that good.
It doesn't fit, and I think you're all in already. At this point of the draft, you know what your comp needs to do into Humble Life Esports. Putting the idea of the Nidalee, so doesn't fit as well in with the dive, but obviously can establish a lot of pressure now. HLE, they're going to go for this in the bot lane, and they're going to try and pick a really strong mid-jungle 2v2 with the Yone Sejuani, and it being Zeka's Yone as well. If they find an advantage in the mid bleeds in a jungle, maybe they can defang this Nidalee.
And there is exactly one team where you can see Nidalee Tristana and go, oh, they're winning the mid-jungle 2v2. That team is waiting in the finals. For any other team, that doesn't feel that strong. Ideally, even though in theory it makes sense, you get Prio, you play from there. Tristana's Prio have been substantially nerfed. Faker has not looked great on Tristana mid, really throughout the entirety of the year. And then Zeka not only gets his comfort pick, but also alongside Peanut on Sejuani, which really enables that 2v2. So we're going to have to see if T1 can deal with all these things and then get to a mid game where obviously they are going to be strong once everyone can sync up.
I will say I feel for Viper though. You were kind of like, okay, me and Zeka are playing 80 carries. They have to dive one of us, the other can survive. Zeka's like, no, I'm playing Yone. They're diving you. Good luck.
Enjoy. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way it's going to go, and we'll see how Viper can handle that. This is getting pretty interesting already. I feel like in this matchup against HLE Esports, you have to figure out a way to defeat one of Peanut's best jungle picks, and they leave the Sejuani open. He picks it immediately. We'll see if T1 can figure it out. Otherwise, they might be in a bit of a rut in this best of 5. HLE Esports looking on top at the moment. But let's see how game number 2 goes as we hop into the rim right now. Here we go, game number 2 already beginning, as so are the emotes and a bit of dancing from Delight.
Some bodyguarding there from Keria, making sure Faker doesn't have any issues in the early game. I do feel like, I mean, it's typical with the Nidalee, but this game might feel really snowbally, as Nidalee often does, but also the 2-carry composition for HLE. If Zeka or Viper fall behind, this comp might really struggle to ever get in the air. I mean, Viper will always eventually be relevant on the Smolder, but Zeka kind of needs to be the driving force to damage in a lot of these mid-game setups. So really looking to see how he handles the lane. Obviously, it's kind of hard to lose lane on Yone currently with how you go Doran Shield, second wind, fleet footwork, absorb life, and just kind of sustain through everything. But, you know, he is someone with a lot of experience on this pick, and we have high expectations for him.
It also really transforms the comp, which was originally looking like just a teamfight comp 2 carry, right? Where as long as Viper gets an ult off, if you are in the early to mid game, like the damage you're going to have is enough. Even in the late game, looking at the T1 comp, that's a whole lot of squishies. So I do think, as you mentioned, it's essential that neither Zeka nor Viper falls too far behind. But the amount of CC and wombo combat that's available for Humble Life is going to be quite scary, given that in the last game they were so good about consistently finding these fights. One upside for T1, as mentioned, the reason why Nidalee came up in the first place way back during MSI was because her matchup into Sejuani, when it comes to the 1v1, is absolutely not fun for Sejuani. Peanut is, of course, I'd argue, our best jungler at playing into pressure, playing from behind. But Oner should be able to substantially outpace, and this time around set up for objectives a lot better.
I feel like also as well, you know, a lot of Sejuani's skirmishing is around the burst from her passive and her stun. Into a Nidalee who has that extra sustain from the heal, it can really bait you into fights and end up backfiring. Now we see Oner already moving in to challenge Peanut. Peanut will just blast Cone away, which funnily enough procs Aftershock, but...
That's a big deal though.
Yeah, he's being forced off.
Meanwhile, we got another skirmish here in mid. Zeka not doing the best, actually, at dealing with the harass under the turret. Can be rough, I mean, playing melee into range. But yeah, trying to get aggressive is Oner. We saw that, well, Viper pretty good at this pick. A perfect KDA, as now we have an engage down on the bottom side here, thinking about getting in onto the Alistar, but nothing much is going to happen. Still the pressure from the side of Oner, and T1 is mounting.
Actually, a really big interrupt there from Keria. If that crashdown goes through, might not have an angle as Oner.
Fight goes to Oner. He does have that burst. In goes Keria, gets the flash away. And a bit of damage done to Oner, but he can heal that up on the Nidalee. So I feel like this aggression at the end of the day is working, as we have a little pause.
I'm kind of seeing some issues though right now for HLE, because even though, you know, Zeka is competent on the Yone, he's been having, obviously Tristana being a range champion is going to have the early pressure. Bot lane, T1 have an Alistar, and despite that, still have the early pressure. And when you don't have pressure lanes and you're playing Sejuani Nidalee, that is when it feels the worst. If you know, if you have a side of the map you can lean towards and have support, great. But you saw there, Peanut was just hiding in the brush, and he's being challenged by the enemy team, and his lanes can't really do anything to help him out, to bail him out, and it just feels worse and worse.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough, and I do like that T1 are getting in there, they're putting on that pressure, and we'll see if that can continue for them as we have oranges on unicycles, juggling pins and stuff. So there's the T1 circus, and then there's the orange circus. This must be some new kind of meme that I'm not clued in on, but I'm seeing a lot of circus in some of these fan signs, some nice drawings as well. Tons of fans have come down here to the indoor stadium to watch the lower finals so far, and it has been really fun. I feel like all the action from Game 1 was really fun to watch. It was a bit messy, but, you know, can be sometimes in the beginning of a best of 5, as we do have the reported peripheral issue for Delight, and it should be solved very soon.
Yep, hopefully get that sorted out quickly. Obviously, going into a different venue sometimes has its issues. On the other side of Korea, actually. So, you know, brought his peripherals with them. Maybe one of them a little bit faulty, but obviously they have spares and stuff for that. But we'll see. As you said, first game was a little bit scrappy, a little bit messy. But
and we're in.
Going into this one, we've already seen the early action. We've already seen Oner trying to take pressure bot, and now looking for Zeka.
Yeah, Zeka almost looked like he wanted to go for the kill there, but not going to overcommit. Still has his flash.
I do want to highlight as well, Zeka has already burned TP. So the early lane played out in a way where Faker still has his TP, is going to be able to now base and then TP back in. And Zeka has not been able to get the best trades, trying to get this wave shoved in as soon as possible, and then hopefully back before Faker can do the same. But all ties into that larger picture of T1, which, again, I think for the reference, they do need to start generating this pressure as early as possible and really push it as far as they can. Get as many objectives as possible right from the get-go. Is Peanut going for some circumventory pathing, but bot lane back's gonna get some Krugs for his efforts nonetheless.
I mean, the thing is, they have such a good comp to do. Obviously, we know about the pace and the leak concept, but they have the Bunker Buster duo with the Tristana Ziggs. Ziggs winning lane early on can be so suffocating. If he gets any free time, if Viper, who's already used his TP, by the way, ends up making a bad recall, the tower is going to go low so quickly, and as soon as you free the Ziggs from bot lane, you're going to lose 3 outers, you're going to lose all those plates, you're cooked.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that, you know, 2 games in a row, Hololive Esports, even from the blue side, you know, they say, okay, T1, you want to play Ziggs? That's fine. We don't really care. We're going to prioritize Smolder over that, or we're just not going to ban it. From the red side as well, we say, okay, we want to ban other things. We want to take the Azir, Rumble, Lilia away from you guys. So, you know, we've seen the power of the Ziggs. Has a very large win rate. It was 10-2 in playoffs so far. I guess now it's 10-3 after game 1. But yeah, Hololive Esports showing some confidence playing into the Ziggs.
Also want to highlight, again, Chemtech Drake first. Which,
nice job.
Setting up for hopefully another Drake, maybe Hextech this time around. Wouldn't be opposed to that. Level 6 being hit now across the board. And we do see Peanut hovering towards that top side. Already gets a lot harder. Zeus has the lane in a good spot, so I don't think that gank ever was going to amount to too much. And post 6, trying to take down a Camille between hookshot and the ultimate is very, very tough. Grubs should be on the menu here because getting as many grubs as possible when you're the team with Tristana and Ziggs, that's really a classic. And I think Hololive also make the correct call not to try and contest this given the experience disadvantage they're looking at, as the TP is going to come through here. That's Zeus.
And I think that's fine. You're not going to get Dove as a Camille. Smolder doesn't have the damage yet. But you sort of lean into territory of cross-mapping. And Ziggs always wins cross-map scenarios because of the pace at which he takes turrets. So this is not a setup I think Hololive Esports wants to go into. And T1 really are setting the pace of this game so far. Even though obviously goal's still very close, it feels like HLE are kind of just doing what they can on the other side. Now they are trying to lean towards Zeus. If they bring 4 members, that's when it becomes diveable, and it's down to how Zeus uses those.
They have 3, and there's the stun already. Zeus finally going to get that ult off, and Delight does tank out the turret. That's another turret shot going into Viper, chunking him in half, as Zeus will survive against 3. Can he survive against 4? The other question, as the stun comes in, lines it up for Zeka, and finally they're able to take out Zeus in the bottom lane. First blood to Hololive Esports.
That's still a big investment though, and Faker is going to be able to get a big shove going. We'll see diving at Cassante is always very, very tough. Can Doran defend here?
Yeah, he's pretty tanky, but there's the Unstoppable taken away, and Keria thinking about going on in.
Down.
He's not level 6 himself just yet, but the stun comes in, and the Ziggs bomb, the all-out, goes in on Guma as he survives for quite a long period of time. Oner nearly dies, but it is a successful dive at the end of the day.
And the difference is HLE had to bring their mid laner in to make the dive work. T1 do it with 3. You can see the damage done to the mid tier 1. So yes, even in terms of the top laners going down, but T1 got more out of it.
Also still have the teleport available for Guma. So I think T1 is a little bit more flexible in, do we want to get the Ziggs back? As he now is going to go for that back, or are we going to have him back towards the bot lane? Can choose to invest. I wouldn't mind it. I think playing towards the dragon as well could be quite solid here. Still 2 minutes before the grubs are up. Faker.
I understand it with it being a Chemtech dragon. You're like, oh, it's probably going to be a good soul. We should play towards bot, play towards the dragon. We're setting the pace of the game. But also that top tower being low, I mean, they have time. But they definitely want to try and get the Ziggs back up there again because it's so close to him just being able to satchel it and really push the pace of this game forward.
I'm really glad that there isn't an actual Ziggs passive yet that says, please take turrets. We have you to remind us.
Ziggs likes taking turrets.
I know.
He
It's
does,
so fun.
It is very obvious. It's built into his kit. Sometimes we don't always see the teams really prioritizing that, but
I think sometimes when a tower's low, it should blink and like an arrow should point towards it with a Ziggs and say, hey, there's a low tower, you should satchel it.
And then when you take it down, you get like a thumbs up emote. Nothing else. That's enough.
Good job. The little Ziggs thumbs up and the little thumbs up. Yeah, beautiful.
He has his own emote. I mean, it was built for a reason, right? Like they should utilize that. And now we're getting the moment in the game where Guma is a little bit scared in bot, but as we know, it is just a 1v1. Ziggs versus Smolder, a trade that Hololive Esports has opted into twice now. But T1 this time around, from the blue side, looking to have a much stronger earlier game in this game number 2. So hoping that this one can be a bit closer compared to game 1.
Because again, I do think that this is a situation that T1 should be in and also needs to be in for the composition to really work, as the dragon is going to get started. Again, I do think the grubs are a lot more important than specifically the first dragon. But T1 still looking to contest. Last time, Zeka single-handedly stopped them. This time, T1 going to bring a couple more people into the fray. Yeah,
definitely a different look this time around. Keria still level 5, kind of awkward for him. He wants to get that engage going. Delight level 6 himself, looking for the Magnet Storm angle. See if he can hit it. As some Ziggs poke does come in, but they will commit to this one. There's the big bomb onto the back line, but now they're trying to go forward. The spike comes in from Peanut. They get the Chemtech Drake. Cloud Drake is up next, and Hololive Esports say, nope, we're done with this fight. We got the Drake, and we are out.
I think they should just give up now. T1 move towards mid. You could actually potentially take the tower. There's no one there to defend it, and it's Ziggs Triss. So who cares about the dragon? They are going to put the TP in. Maybe the minion wave is a bit too small.
They got another one. And, I mean, they have 3 grubs already. This might just go down.
Demolish as well.
If nobody comes in and stops this.
Look at Delight. He's on his way, but I don't think he's going to be in time.
I mean, maybe his threat will be enough to push them off. They do back away. Meanwhile, Oner's getting more grubs on the map, so he should be able to get some.
And the thing is, whether or not they take the tower isn't the most relevant thing, because when you get it that low, it's a satchel away, right? An auto and a satchel from the Ziggs will take it, and now, for the rest of the game, HLE has to play super defense on the mid-tier 1, or it will just go down.
Do want to give credit to HLE for getting an early game dragon, deflecting an attempted engage from T1, and also making sure that they still getting these side lane plates, right? T1, yes, the grubs are big, but they're not really able to build a giant lead when it comes to the gold, as Guma ends up having the flash. Zeka found him with the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, in a 1v1 situation, if you mess up the satchel, Yone will just eat you for breakfast. So you got to be careful about that 1v1.
Yeah, so ends up having to bin the flash there, does have TP to go back towards mid, and I think a big thing was Keria had gone bot to protect Faker, and therefore wasn't in the mid lane to cover his AD carry, or I guess AP carry in this situation. Guma also going the Archangel's rush, which I guess if you're concerned about like Cassante, Yone dive, that makes sense. Definitely should go Liandry's second with how bulky HLE is, and then we'll just be able to shred through them. So we're now at about 12 minutes. We have 2 minutes left. Mid tower and top tower both low, and I think T1 really need to set up and ideally get both of those towers. You know, I'm reminding everyone, Ziggs likes to take towers. In case you didn't know.
Ox is the blinking arrow that is leading to the turrets. You know, we joke, but it's really important as now. Ooh, nice hook shot to get away from that one. Doran not quite able to line it up, but Zeus was in more danger than perhaps he realized, but he's able to dodge his way out of that.
If he gets the knockback and he's able to position himself, drags him over the wall, you're just at best you're going to be able to flash out of it. Most likely, it's going to end up going down with the amount of CC that's available between those two. So good on Zeus there to survive. Again, I want to reiterate right now, Humble Life about 1k gold behind. Next dragon going to be big. And when are these turrets going to start falling? Not just because we want to see Ziggs happy, we want to see Ox happy, but also because, again, T1, I think this type of style of dive composition.
Guys, look, really up. That was a zoning ult.
The zoning ult. He's pushing him off the turret so
trying
he can
to make
take
a point off.
But he knows
trying to get the turret.
He wants the turret.
He's going to get it. There you go. Nice timing on the satchel. And there it is, the first turret blood going over to the Ziggs team. That's ahead. Makes sense for Ziggs as well. It's pretty good.
I don't think he can get a second one though. I know he loves turrets, but this might be a bit of a stretch.
There's a second one in mid.
Hey, but what about
the mid one? Yeah, the mid one I think you can go for. Maybe now.
Well, they don't have a lot of time left. They want to get the blades.
They're going to try. I mean, Viper will absolutely respect that. He's going to flash away.
Oh, yeah, he really has to.
Feel very scary into the Smolder.
That's not going to get better.
I think
for
the Dream's
Viper.
dead, by the way. Yeah.
Well, but no, it's okay, Ox. As I was saying, I think particularly when you have a dive composition and a composition like the Nidalee, it's very, very important. You guys can see, but Valdez was just shaking his head.
We're both shaking our heads. It's okay. They got the one. They got the one turret.
Oh, they got it.
It's good enough.
Trying to set up dives is a lot easier when you have map control. Getting map control is easier when there's no mid lane turret. So for T1, very important that they do end up getting that one eventually. I think the Herald should be heavily contested here. Unless Homa Life want to set up the trade. There are a lot of good dragons available though, so maybe you don't want T1 to fully stack them. To see what happens, as both Dragon and Herald are going to be up in about 45. Herald already live, but no moves made to take that just yet.
Peanut just backing in front of T1, who will stop that.
That's a Locket.
Yeah, Peanut is one of our junglers. I think this is the first one that was always just like, nope, Locket's the jungle item now, and I build it every single game.
Yeah, because a lot of people moved to Maokai, but on Sejuani, they were still going Zeke. He was the first to say, no, it's actually really good on every time.
I think it was Pioshik. Actually, that went it first.
He might have got it first,
which
I've been the main believer.
Yeah, no, I know. I just, it feels to me like such a no, this item is better. I'm just going to build it every time. Right now, we do see T1 setting up shop around this dragon. Going to be hard to approach these choke points with the traps, with the vision denial, and with the Ziggs being there, and both mid and bot lane being shoved in.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different feel playing the Ziggs from behind versus from ahead. I think Gumo's doing his best to poke. He had a lot of damage in game one, but now, as you mentioned, Chronicler, you can just kind of set up mines, satchels, ways to prevent entries, as it's Ocean Soul that is coming in here for game number 2. So, no Infernal, no X-Tech, and no Mountain. Those are the other options. Zeka still trying to exert some pressure here on the map, but it will be the Dragon over to T1.
And there's mid-tower god. It was low. Yeah, I mean, didn't get the plate strip, but it was low already. It was set up, so it means they can really lean pressure towards the spot tower and push the pace of the game forwards. Just the fact that they've set up mid and top, they've got those towers. Bot lane is kind of like sticking out as like a sore thumb now, so they can lean towards that. Set the pace. It is unfortunate that it's an Ocean Soul for T1. I feel like HLE benefit a decent amount into the Ziggs Nidalee poke, and they have a lot of bulky members, but I don't think it really helps T1 that much. They already have sustain from the Nidalee, so not the ideal soul for them, but I don't think it really changes their game plan regardless.
You're playing in the dive. I think the only thing it might have a marginal effect is eventually Smolder's going to be able to burn you, maybe the sustain. If you do actually have the soul, can make a difference there, but that does really feel like you're bringing a water gun to a giant fire-breathing dragon. I don't really think.
I mean, water's good against fire, right?
Yeah, generally.
If you have enough of it.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they will.
And it depends on the type of fire as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
You don't want to throw that on an oil fire.
Yeah, that'd be dangerous.
Get yourself in a lot of trouble. Not much is happening in this game. There's significantly less action compared to game number 1.
Yeah, even though there weren't a lot of... I think we were like 3-1 at this point. There was a lot more almost things happening.
Yeah.
Not so much this time around. Herald is still up, and it's going to get taken by T1, it looked like.
It did feel like T1, you know, even from behind, they were kind of like Going in, going out, going in. It wasn't the cleanest calls or communication, coordination, whatever you want to call it, from their side from behind, but from ahead, HLE Esports, they haven't made any oversteps. You know, they're just sitting back, they have a smolder, and they say, well, we're behind. We don't really want to fight right now, so we'll just give you the Drake and just continue farming.
And that's the thing, it's always contextual. T1 ahead, it's about 2,000 after that tower went down, but how far ahead do you need to be when you're playing into the smolder? You have tools to deal with him, even when he gets ahead, but we've seen smolders even itemize things like a Zhonya's later on. That item would really hamper the ability to shut him down, and we saw Viper's stacks pop up before. He's at 159 at this point. He is quickly ramping up.
We'll also have to see how T1 can use the fact that they have 2 side lane threats as opposed to Hama, they really only have 1. Like Zeka, I think, is going to be really tough to deal with, especially once he hits his second item and from there on out. But for T1, both Zeus and Faker are going to shred through Doran. Like, Doran is going to have a tough time actually maintaining any level of prio, as we do have Delight running into the Camille and not really enjoying his time, but there's a lot more resources on the way. TPs are available.
Yeah, they're trying to get something here on the top side of the map, but this is kind of half-hearted, as now the Ziggs bomb comes over the top. Zeus looking to take out Delight. He will not be able to. That's a kill, but look at bottom lane. This is really where most of the action is happening in terms of turrets going down. They're going to take the mid-inner, and then they'll back away, but utilizing that Rift Herald to a nice degree.
And this is a problem, you commit so heavily to the top side of the map, and now Ziggs Tristana looking mid. I don't think you dive in Alistair, but yeah, they'll just take the tower.
Meanwhile, TP's coming in. Viper doesn't exist anymore. He's not dead, but yeah, he needs to back. Meanwhile, this top turret will go down, so at least HLE did get that, but T1 really trying to exert a lot of map pressure with this comp.
Still a pretty big investment from Zeus, though, I think, underestimating the damage that he had. I'm not sure if it was the locker that ended up being the difference maker, but going for the flash Q there is a
wow.
Keria.
This is Alistair. I mean, it's going to take a long time to kill him. And can they actually do it? I don't really believe just yet, but now trying to bait the fight. Here comes Camille. That's a miss on the hook shot, trying to predict the pullback, and that's not going to work. Zeka eventually just pulls back himself. Now he's going to flash over the wall. And they get away scot-free, even Blast Cone helping them out.
Getting the kill isn't that big of a deal, but getting the kill and getting the TPs and getting away, HLE got a lot more than they were hoping for just with a pick onto Keria.
And it's, again, the sense of desperation that I think we had when Keria went over that wall in game number 1. Another example here, Gumayusi also really is committing to killing Carry specifically. Didn't end up going for the Leandri. He says, we take another look here. I wonder if Zeus couldn't have, at the very least, tried to stay underneath the turret with the wave being gone as well, and knowing that Delight has flash.
I think he ulted because he wanted to keep him under the tower, but also I think wanted to avoid any follow-up CC coming in. It was a great flash from Delight to drag him away, and the CC lock that came in took him out. And then here, you know, Keria getting caught, obviously not ideal, but it's just so many misfires. Zeus completely whiffs the hook shot in this situation. Zeus caught out again.
Here we go again, and Zeka's really beginning to take over the map with the help of some of his friends. The stun comes in, and that is the combo of Yone and Sejuani, and they are just abusing those side lanes right now. As Mob will come down, the Smolder wave clear works a little bit, but it will not stop Ziggs. They take out the inner, does T1. Now HLE Esports threatening from top river.
Been disastrous for T1. They're still ahead, they're still getting structures, but they keep losing members on the other side, and it feels so unnecessary. You know, yes, Zeus, they're trading for you in these situations. They are getting the dragon, but it just feels like they're giving away so much that is unnecessary, and it really starts to make me feel concerned.
You're not getting drakes that are that relevant, as you saw T1 when Zeus was getting dove or killed there by 3 people. Turret was already gone, obviously. Ocean Drake wasn't even the first thing of their mind. If that's a Hextech Drake, they're immediately making the snap call. And now, the side lane threat of Zeka being 4-0 is going to be so tough to answer.
And also the fact that, you know, this is a 2-carry composition. If the carries are behind, the game can feel completely doomed. But Viper has been solid on the stacks. He's going to be approaching 225. Zeka is monster fed.
202 right now.
Yeah, he's going to have it. So for the next fight, you're going to have a online Smolder, you're going to have Zeka on one of his best champions, super fed. The tools are there for HLE, and the gold deficit, the total team gold, is less relevant when you have picks like a Sejuani and a Cassante who are lower economy. That's the difference between the compositions. T1, you know, you have a 0-3-0 Camille that feels pretty bad.
It definitely does. I mean, we'll see how good his ult usage is later on in the game. Can he find Viper and click the button? That is going to be definitely relevant, but the damage is not going to be there. He's not going to be as tanky, and Viper farming up really well. Also, I mean, Zeka, his comfort pick, and you give him 4 kills, he might just take over the game, especially when the comp has a lot of ways to get this Yone going. I do like that T1 are still trying to pressure the map. They're still trying to take out as many side turrets as possible. Even Viper going to call down Moms to clear that wave and stay safe up there and continue to try to delay. But oh no, Guma is totally caught as there's the flash, and he will get away with the satchel. But that was pretty scary for a moment.
And that's a big cooldown gone. We'll see if Humble Life want to try and push it further, but Smolder's about to hit. Zeka is a complete menace. Now no flash on the Ziggs. And yes, T1's dive is strong. Yes, their lockdown is solid. But even if you blow up Viper, if you use too many resources, the fight is going to be carried by Doran, by Zeka. And there's not that much you can do. Also, Guma very close, but not quite there yet. On the death cap, want to try and get that, if it's even remotely possible, before you commit to anything big here.
Yeah. You know, Onx, you were talking about the Ziggs build. I feel like maybe he's just going full Omega Bomba for the backline, you know, after the Camille ult comes down onto Viper, because that's not really a tank shredding build that he's gone for.
Yeah, they're really gonna... He's not gonna help out that much. I mean, Ziggs still does a decent amount of damage, but Doran has a Kanek Rukin. Ziggs is not gonna be a fantastic answer to the Xante in any meaningful way, so definitely looking more at Faker to cut through the frontliners. It really is going to be about getting this backline access.
Yeah. It's pushing top lane, not really working out. You see that Ziggs did negative damage, I guess. Doran chipped away at the Kanek Recurrent shield with just the Q. Yeah. Obviously, it'll be a bit different once he gets, you know, a 4th and 5th item. But he's not quite there just yet for now. So going to be looking at those items as Viper has hit the stacks here, 227. With, again, not too much action outside of Humble Life Esports finding picks in the side lane to defeat Zeka.
Starting to feel concerning. A lot of things have gone wrong, the Soul being one of them, and it's about this sort of time where I expect T1 to really start heavily setting up around Baron and threatening it. I don't think getting more Ocean Dragons is necessarily going to win you the game. So potentially if they burn some TPs, pull HLE towards the Baron and set up a play there, that could be the win con. And we know T1 are good at that. We know that's something they've often lent into in the past.
Gonna have a good amount of damage as well between the Leandris, the Tristana. I imagine they will keep Camille on the sideline, just have her TP in if it is necessary, as the death cap is now done for Guma. So I don't think Viper's going to have a good look at that. Look at that in his inventory.
Yeah.
There it is.
He knows.
It's a big issue, actually, because if you're going to really index into killing Viper in one go and he just has one item that totally counters it, then your entire win comp, your entire way to win the game is just gone immediately.
And the thing is, on a Smolder, you have AP ratios on your Q, you have AP ratios on your burn. It's not as good as the AD, but you've completed your core items, you've got your burn, you're doing enough. Just go defensive, and then you're sitting pretty. If Camille jumps on you and use Onyas, by the time you come out, the Camille's probably dead.
It's starting to feel like the main angle for T1, unless it's a great Baron setup, is just getting an engage onto Zeka as they try to get the Doran.
Yeah, I mean, at least Faker's going to do the damage, but actually it's Keria in a bit of rough spot. He's going to have to flash away, and Doran holds on to his flash. So all things considered, Life Esports not too bothered. This is right before the Drake and maybe some pressure onto the Baron that you guys were talking about, but still a bit early, and they haven't totally pushed away Doran, and he has TP. So not going to matter all too much just yet.
TP is going to come in. We'll see if Humble Life wants to contest. They also have a good amount of Baron damage with the burn, with the Yone, so... Oh, if to want to be careful, Delight, he is looking.
A lot of Zeus damage as well.
Yeah, well, if they get everybody up there as, yeah, no hookshot just yet, and there's Zeka over the wall, and now the Magnet Storm, but the hookshot buffered to try to get away, and an ult as well, as we got a little skirmish on the right side coming in. Faker trying to flash on in, but it will be disengaged. Zeus has to back away. Here comes Oner.
There's a wave. Zeus can flank with a TP once he recalls.
They're playing it slow.
They definitely are. Humble Life Esports are backed up against the wall. We'll see if T1 can zone them and do some
TP.
No Zeka
damage.
Ult. No Delight ult.
Yeah, that's a lot gone. And Humble Life Esports, again, they have nowhere to go as Doran trying to throw himself in there. But now Delight's got a frontline, and he's not very tanky. Humble Life Esports are just running the opposite way as he has to flash a spear T1 still on the chase, but they're not quite fast enough. I mean, HLE Esports are just running away from them really fast. And T1 are not going to find the engage.
And I think T1 honestly fumbled this. Delight won't even go down. Gets the shield for the dismount. T1, they had Zeus on a flank TP, and they all moved to his side, so he wasn't isolated. But as a result, HLE just ran down and got out, and now they're all looking towards the Baron, but they know full HP. He's there.
They know. TPs are available as well, although Delight isn't there just yet. Zeka doesn't have his ultimate. Maybe this is the window.
It's 27 minutes in. That's a bit of damage from Mom, but yeah, Peanut is in the pit. They have not found a way to zone him away, and now we have the TP coming on in. The all-out onto Keria, and Peanut will not be denied access as it is just a flip. It goes to Oner, but the health bars are so low on the side of T1. Oner is just running away. Faker's running away. Zeus is isolated. Keria can't quite walk his way out of this one. The Baron does go the way of T1, and actually it's only just the one kill on a Zeus for now.
It's a heist! They got the Baron!
They did. It looks like Keria might eventually go down.
He will go down for sure. And this buys time for HLE. You know, if they chase down the Alistair or just stall him out, I guess they gave up because you can recall.
Wow, Doran might just die here. Okay.
The Koenig!
He is Cassante. He's Cassante.
Okay, but the recall from Keria taking the dragon, this is going to slow down the Baron of T1, but they still have the buff. That's the main thing. And with the Tristana Ziggs, they really need to get mileage out of it. It's not enough just to get a couple of towers. The base needs to be broken. You need an inhib tower at least.
Really do, and the inhib, ideally that you're looking to get, might also mean that Humble Life is going to be a little bit slower on these places. This was just a straight up flip. I think it's the right call because you know the light isn't there just yet. Zeka going for a very short range, but look at those bombs actually keeping Zeka out of the fight. If he got to this earlier, if he doesn't get that satchel and the Yone's in the pit, I think T1 get wiped.
Yeah, it was super down to the wire, and I will say when you have a Nidalee against a Sejuani, you have the Q smite, it is more reliable that you're able to secure it, but it still felt close to the wire.
Yeah.
I do think that how they played around the TP from theirs before that, they definitely could have got a lot more there, but T1, they got the Baron, they have 3 dragons, but now they're trying to make that push happen. This tier 2 tower is already low, it won't take much to finish it off, and HLE bringing all 5 members in to try and defend here.
Want to highlight as well, Zeka going for IE, not the jack shows that we so often see, but going full damage, identifying that he does indeed need to put out some numbers as the siege for T1 gonna be big. They need to accelerate that gold lead here.
Yeah, I mean, HLE Esports are really throwing the kitchen sink into these waves. I mean, even Mom gonna be called down once again, and T1 are not gonna overstay and try to take out this turret, but you know, they get the Baron, they have a tiny Red Bull Baron power play, but they really want to get more on the map.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, it's just so hard to approach. You have the Smolder firing these Qs out, denying the waves, and look at how HLE are positioned. They are actually confident to look for a fight if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, HLE Esports, well, that Ziggs bomb didn't do much. And, you know, get some shields, you get the locket. Excellent value into the Ziggs, by the way, so just gonna eat that Inferno Bomb, and yeah, this Baron play is not really doing much at the end of the day. It is about 1,200 gold in the power play. And now they're looking for Oner. Oh, he is caught out, and there's nowhere for him to go. They get Keria as well in the Magnet Storm. That's just kind of hanging out at the end of the Baron push, and that will be a double kill now for Viper.
Great pick found. You know, Nidalee has, Oner has Zhonya's, didn't find a window to get it off. He'll go down, the Baron push has ended, and HLE feeling far better about the state of the game. I will say, I feel like Zeus not having the Baron really hurt their ability to make things happen with that. He was the one split for the team and just didn't get anything done, and now, I mean, look at the map state, it hasn't changed, but now HLE might get this tier 1 tower, so the outcome of the Baron is just positive for HLE.
Want to highlight as well, not only does he not have the Baron, did Zeus, but he's also, again, behind on itemization onto Zeka. Zeka's basically a full Infinity Edge ahead. So, even though Camille generally skills well in the Oner, it's always going to be dicey, but in this scenario especially, is Peanut showing again, this man on Sejuani, doesn't matter what the early game state is, 100% co-participation as well. Keria really feels like you get a little bonus, you know, when they get it. The Baron Barrel play was already at its end, and it doesn't end up working out. And T1 still sitting on a small gold lead. Maybe they can get Soul. But again, if this is Hextech, if you have Ziggs Tristana with Hextech Soul, that alone can be enough to make your siege so much more lethal. it just isn't the case. So those picks onto Zeka and Viper are still going to be the main win cons. I imagine Zeka's going to like a GA next, and Viper's still sitting on that arm guard.
The fact he hasn't had to use the arm guard, and I can't even remember the last time I saw Viper flash. He just hasn't been pressured. And this composition from T1, you know, I talked about it coming out of draft, how Zeka didn't match up with Viper, both playing 80 carries. It meant Viper was going to be targeted. Well, apparently not. He's kind of just been sitting pretty, and he is incredibly strong at this point. With the rapid fire as well, you know, he's just able, if he lands one big Q on the right target, the impact is done, you know, gets the ult as well. He doesn't have to get up close and personal, but 348 stacks, this is a major issue for T1.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking about the stuff that Viper has used. I feel like we haven't really seen a coordinated fight from T1 where they really target in onto the Smolder. And here comes Smolder, Viper just flapping over the wall, and there's that poke damage coming in. Lockett gonna help against that, but now Peanut's in a bit of trouble. He's got to flash away. TP gonna be forced from both of them. Zeka gonna hold on to his though, and he will not be TPing into this fight. As I say that, he TPs into the fight. As now, trying to get on top of a Camille, that's not going to work out. Zeka not going to hit, and he engaged, but actually Doran is going to hold out Guma, but Keria is going to get the peel on that backline. Doran in a bit of trouble, but so is Keria. Who will go down first? The answer is the cow, as Keria does go down. Zeka going forward, Zeus desperately trying to find the angle. Very low health bars, as in goes Zeus, but there's no follow-up as some bombs are thrown in, but Zeka, finally, the rebound for Faker, he's gonna get in, he's gonna get out, and it's just gonna be Doran super low on HP once again, eats a spear, as Zeus looking for more as the Mega Bomb comes in. They're gonna take down the Rel, and Humble Esports are left just running away from the fight.
These fights are insane! T1, they're gonna keep going! Can they go for the push? Soul is on the table, but without Zeka there, I think Viper's still alive. You can't go for it. Looks like they're just gonna go for the Dragon, but that felt like either team could have taken it.
T1 navigating on the knife's edge. Members going in bit by bit, finding the windows. It looked super close, but they're able to find the advantage just when it felt like the Smolder was becoming unstoppable. They find a window, but now TP coming in. They will be challenged. Faker, I'm not sure you can stay in the pit against Viper.
I mean, at the end of the day, Faker doesn't die, and it's just one Ocean Soul. T1 are taking the Baron right now. I mean, and they don't really care about this Ocean. Yeah, they denied the Ocean Soul, but T1 getting the Baron at this point in the game, and they have a lead. I think we might begin to see some of those fights that actually look like they've got the whole team on the same page as we have a pause.
Going into that fight, we had GA and Zeus, we had the Seeker's Arm Guard on Viper, we had summoners across the board. I think everyone burned their flashes in that fight. Everything got used, and this really helps out T1 because I think they were struggling to approach these fights because they're like, okay, how do we deal with Viper? Well, he's got Flash, he's got Seekers. Now those are burned, I think it becomes a lot more realistic that they can force a fight on their terms. If anyone oversteps and they get Camille ulted, it's going to be hard for them to, you know, the team to come to support. It's going to be hard for them to flash out after the Camille ult goes down. So I think T1, they're going to have the Baron. They really need to make sure they get things done with this one.
I hope we get a replay of that fight as well, because there were a lot of individual moments. Zeus deciding to go back in after what has been, I think, a very lackluster game.
So
caught out repeatedly.
This is a, yes, the legendary toilet issue. It has returned. Keria says, okay, I'm very nervous. It's getting to me. I need to run to the toilet. So we'll take a little short break, and he'll be back, and we'll finish the game.
Yeah, I mean, hectic fights like that as well, when you really need to go, you can definitely test it. So credit to Keria for holding on.
Yeah.
We're all human at the end of the day. As mentioned, I think... maybe ideally, I just want to see a replay of that one fight. It was so... It was...
What?
Oh, production!
Got him.
Especially after that shot. I think that's justified. I think that's warranted after what happened. But also Faker going in and actually getting that reset, then getting turned on, but being able to jump out nonetheless. The bomb from Guma, the fact that Viper did live throughout all... Because I think if Viper dies there, I think T1 tries to look for the end. Because Zeka was already gone, and that's their two big damage dealers.
It's also, like, so much of the wave clear comes down to the Smolder. If Viper ever misplays, ever dies, I feel like they're really going to struggle just to deal with waves. So he has to play, he has a lot of weight in his shoulders. And credit to Viper, you know, during the regular season, when Ezreal was really strong, that spree where it looked great, kind of fell off a bit, it felt like, in the late stages. The expectations are so high for this player, but so far in this series,
he's back.
really good. And Keria, good job.
Great work. Yeah, I think he's giving a little you know, round of applause to production for letting him go. And he'll be back and ready to play the game in tip-top form this time. I mean, it was pretty good in that last fade, I guess, you know? Kind of kept him around, put his face in it, doing Alistair things. But now, it's going to be next level.
Yeah, should be able to get it started any second.
And we do have the Baron, this time on the Camille. And Zeus doesn't have his GA, but I do feel like eventually with Camille, you're just always going to get to the point where your Q2 does absolutely
Cho'Gath damage.
Amounts of damage. Yeah, it's I like the Cho'Gath ult beam. I think it's apt. Especially level 18, right, has the Sterix as well, so amount of extra AD that you're going to get is kind of insane.
Pretty big is that you saw Viper was building to Leandries, but he had enough gold in the back of that fight to finish off the Zhonyas. This is that fight. They try like for Zeus, but he manages to get the dash away on this one. Zeka finds this threat onto Uma, but it's Doran who catches him after the flash. Uma is able to disengage though. And the problem with the Alistair is playing into a smaller, you just get shredded regardless, but I feel like this is where it starts to get interesting when Zeus finds an angle here.
Zeus ends up going in aggressively, and it just buys space for the rest of the team, right? Faker gets the kill on Zeka, then goes really aggressive, which, given that the stopwatch was still there, was a big risk, but he gets, because of the kill, the reset, so he's able to make it out. And then here, that fact that Viper lives, I think it was the Locket that ended up being a big difference maker.
But the thing is, you see how different it is when Zeka goes down and when Viper's threatened, the team really struggles. These are your damage sets, and they need to be able to function. And in that situation where you lost one and the other started to get low, HLE suddenly started to feel very scary, which is why I think it's so big. Zeka now has GA and Viper has Zhonyas. They still have to break through those for T1 to win out these fights.
I just want to highlight as well, T1 have been sitting on a gold lead, I think, for basically the entirety of this game. They're down 5 kills. Like, there's not been a lot of bloodshed on their end.
Well, they got some extra plates, and they've gotten some other objectives as Doran is extremely tanky, but Oner's in a lot of trouble. He will Zhonya's in. Mom doesn't do much, but Oner's still going to be caught by the Yone. Viper in a kind of an awkward spot, but he's able to flap away, and he gets some peeling. And now Zeus is really just in a rough spot here as well. Zeka does have his GA, but down goes Zeus. And how will IV Sports, they find the fight. They're looking for more. Trying to find Guma, trying to find Faker and Keria. The two carries here on the side of T1. They go in onto Keria. Look at the damage from Faker. It is huge. As there's a couple of kills already for the Tristana. Faker just standing and firing and taking everyone out. He gets a triple. No, it's the kill of the Siege. But it is a massive fight to the side of T1 as they overstep and Faker picks up a Quadra.
Faker, the player who has struggled throughout this season, comes up huge. The movement's perfect. He gets the damage off and he turns round the fight. They're going to look for the end.
Oner's just bait, baby. They don't need the Nidalee. He ends up going down. But as we can see, as much damage as Zeka and Viper can do, that doesn't matter if you can't get on top of this Ziggs and can't get on top of this Tristana.
And it's over. There's nothing they can do. The Nexus, you see that delight is just desperation. But this late in the game, you give up a fight like that, T1 will run away with the game. And we've got